The metallic taste of blood filled Daniel's mouth as he stumbled backward, his vision blurring. Another fist connected with his rib, and he heard something crack. Through the haze of pain, he saw her, Melissa, his wife of 7 years, standing in the doorway of what used to be their bedroom. Her lips curved upward in a smile that would haunt him for months to come. "That's enough, Garrett," she said casually, as if commenting on the weather. Her lover, a man Daniel had never seen before tonight, stepped back, flexing his bruised knuckles. Daniel had come early from work, from his construction job, hoping to surprise Melissa. Instead, he'd found them tangled in sheets that still smelled of the fabric softener he'd bought last week. The confrontation that followed was brief and one-sided. "Get out," Melissa said, her voice devoid of emotion. "This hasn't been working for months. I want you gone by tomorrow." That night, Daniel sat in his truck outside a gas station, his belongings stuffed in garbage bags. His phone buzzed with a text from Melissa's lawyer. Divorce papers would be served within the week. At 34 years old, he had nothing, no home, no savings, no family nearby. For 3 days, Daniel lived in his truck, washing up in gas station bathrooms. On the fourth day, sitting in a Walmart parking lot, he made a decision. He wouldn't go back, not to beg, not to fight, not even to demand explanations. He would simply disappear and rebuild himself entirely. Daniel drove west to Denver with $847 in cash, a truck with a questionable transmission, and absolutely nothing left to lose. That broken man in the mirror was gone. Whoever he became next would be entirely his own creation. Denver greeted Daniel with autumn rain and indifferent crowds. He found a basement apartment in Lakewood for $600 a month, a space that smelled of mildew and broken dreams. His landlord, Pete, a gruff veteran, asked no questions when Daniel paid in cash. The first month was pure survival. Daniel found day labor through a temp agency, swinging hammers for 12-hour shifts. His body, still healing from Garrett's beating, screamed in protest. Each night he collapsed into a mattress on the floor, too exhausted to think about Melissa's smile. But the mind heals slower than the body. In the darkness, memories ambushed him until Pete found him doing push-ups at midnight and tossed him a business card. "Friend of mine runs a real gym. Tell him I sent you." The gym became Daniel's sanctuary. At 5 a.m. before the sun rose, he'd work out with an intensity that bordered on obsessive. Martinez, the owner, the former Golden Gloves boxer, recognized the fury in Daniel's eyes. "You training for something?" Martinez asked one morning, becoming someone else. Daniel replied between gasps, "Good answer, but you need discipline, not just anger. Anger runs out, discipline doesn't." Under Martinez's guidance, Daniel learned to channel his pain into purpose. The physical transformation began within weeks, lean muscle replacing softness, but the real change happened internally, in the quiet moments between rounds when he learned that strength meant controlling yourself, not just overpowering others. Work improved too. Daniel's reliability caught the attention of a site foreman named Jackson, who offered him a permanent position with better pay. With stable income, Daniel enrolled in night classes for construction management certification. His days became brutal: work from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., gym until 5 p.m., classes until 9 p.m., study until midnight. 6 months in, Daniel barely recognized his reflection: 40 pounds lighter, muscles defined, eyes clear and focused. A woman at the coffee shop where he studied, a stunning redhead named Vanessa, kept glancing his way. "You're here every night," she finally said, sliding into the seat across from him. "What are you working so hard for?" Daniel closed his textbook. A better version of myself. Vanessa was marketing consultant, recently divorced, rebuilding her own life. Something tentative but real sparked between them. Their first kiss happened 2 weeks later in her apartment, gentle and exploratory, both of them damaged but hopeful. "You're different," Vanessa whispered one evening, months later, her fingers tracing scars on his knuckles as they lay tangled in her sheets. You're not trying to prove anything to anyone. Daniel kissed her shoulder. I already proved what I needed to myself. Their intimacy was a revelation. With Melissa, sex had been routine, mechanical. With Vanessa, it was rediscovery, vulnerable, honest, built on mutual respect and genuine desire. She taught him that asking what pleased your partner wasn't weakness but strength. A year and a half after leaving, Daniel received his construction management certification with honors. Jackson promoted him to junior project manager, doubling his salary. The basement apartment gave way to a decent one-bedroom in Capitol Hill. Then came the big opportunity. A $3.2 million commercial project needed a manager after the previous one quit abruptly. It was way above Daniel's experience level. I can't promise you won't fail, Jackson said, but you outwork everyone. That's rarer than you think. Daniel took the job. The first month was chaos. 70-hour weeks sustained by coffee and determination. The breakthrough came when he caught a subcontractor cutting corners on electrical work. Instead of covering it up to stay on schedule, Daniel shut down the phase and had everything redone properly. The client developer, Elizabeth Chen, was initially furious. This cost me 2 weeks and $60,000. Daniel met her gaze evenly. It saves you a potential lawsuit and possible deaths. Your choice which matters more. Chen studied him, then nodded. I appreciate integrity. Finish this right. Mitchell and I'll have more work for you. The project completed under the budget and to perfect specifications. Chen kept her promise, hiring Daniel for more projects and recommending him throughout her network. Within 6 months, he was a full project manager with a six-figure salary. The divorce papers finally arrived. Melissa was demanding half of everything, including earnings from the past 2 years. Daniel's lawyer laughed. She left you with nothing. She has no claim to what you've built since. Daniel signed without emotion. That chapter was closed. 3 years after fleeing, Daniel received a LinkedIn message that made his blood run cold. It was from Melissa. Daniel, I heard you're doing well in Denver. I've missed you. We should talk. M. Vanessa read over his shoulder and laughed in disbelief. The audacity. She doesn't deserve a response, Daniel said, closing the laptop. But Melissa persisted. Messages arrived, apologetic, nostalgic, then desperate. She'd broken up with Garrett. She'd made mistakes. She wanted to reconnect. Each deletion felt like reclaiming another piece of himself. Then his sister Emma called. Melissa's been trying to get information about you. I think she's planning to show up in Denver. Let her come, Daniel said calmly. I'm not hiding. That night he and Vanessa made love with an intensity born of uncertainty. She arched beneath him, their bodies finding familiar rhythms. Afterwards she whispered against his chest, I love you, not who you were or who you were becoming, just you, right now. It was the first time either had said it. I love you too, Daniel replied. You helped me remember how. 2 weeks later, Melissa appeared at one of his job sites. She looked different, thinner, older, tired. The confidence that had once defined her had dimmed. Daniel walked to the fence, his heart steady. Up close, he could see the years hadn't been kind. You look incredible, she said softly. I didn't believe it until now. What do you want, Melissa? I made a terrible mistake. Tears welled in her eyes. Garrett was a disaster. I lost everything. I realized I threw away the best thing I ever had. Daniel felt nothing, no anger, no satisfaction, not even pity. Just emptiness where she used to live in his mind. I'm sorry you're struggling, he said simply, but we're done. We were done the moment you smiled while watching me get beaten in our home. Daniel, please. No, you taught me I was living small, accepting less, letting someone else define my worth. So thank you for that, but we have nothing more to say. He turned and walked back to his work. He didn't look back. 4 years later, after driving away from his old life, Daniel stood in a hotel ballroom accepting an industry award for excellence in construction management. His company, Mitchell and Associates, had completed 12 major projects with a reputation for integrity and quality. Vanessa stood beside him in a midnight blue dress, her engagement ring catching the light. He'd proposed 6 months ago on a hiking trail overlooking the Rockies. 4 years ago, I arrived in Denver with nothing but a truck and determination. Daniel said into the microphone, "This city gave me a second chance at life. I won't waste it." After the ceremony, they escaped to their hotel suite. Vanessa kicked off her heels, then turned to him with a mischievous smile. "How does it feel to be an award-winning entrepreneur?" "Honestly," Daniel pulled her close, hands finding her zipper, "it feels less important than this, than you, than the life we're building." They moved together towards the bed, shedding formal wear and pretense, rediscovering each other with the familiarity of love and excitement of desire. This intimacy, honest, equal, chosen, was perhaps the truest measure of how far he'd come. Later, as Vanessa slept, Daniel received an email from someone named Jennifer Hartwell, who introduced herself as Garrett's sister. Her brother had died from a drug overdose 6 months ago, consumed by guilt. Melissa was in and out of rehab. Daniel read it twice and deleted it. He felt no satisfaction in their downfall. Those emotions would mean that they still had space in his heart, and they simply didn't. The closure he'd needed, he'd built himself through sweat, discipline, love, and the choice to become better rather than bitter. He looked around the luxurious suite, evidence of success, then at Vanessa, evidence of love, then at his reflection, evidence of transformation. The real revenge, Daniel realized, wasn't in their misery, it was in his complete indifference to it. They were characters in a story he'd finished reading. His new story, the one he authored himself, was so much better than the old one simply didn't matter. He'd returned to the bed and wrapped his arm around Vanessa. In 3 months, they'd been married. His company had contracts lined up through next year. His life was full, authentic, and entirely his own. The revenge wasn't violence or confrontation. It was building a life so good that the people who'd broken him become irrelevant. They couldn't touch his joy because they'd never been invited into it. As sleep claimed him, Daniel's last thought was simple. I won not by destroying them, but by outgrowing them completely. The best revenge was becoming someone they never imagined he could be, and then not caring whether they noticed or not.